All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Olivia Radcliffe, Marketing and Technical Services Specialist here at eBeam Services. That is Nola sleeping behind me. She will snore. We'll see how much it gets picked up on the mic. Hopefully, Gustavo won't be snoring. So, Gustavo, you can give your spiel about who you are, what you do for eBeam.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Varca, also known as Dr. V, and I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about some questions that have come up to us. I am the new application development manager at eBeam Services, and I'm a radiation technology scientist and specialist. So I'm here to try to answer a couple of questions.
Yep. Well, so lately we've actually been getting some questions about food processing in particular. And I want to start off by pointing out that at eBeam Services, we don't actually process food products like beef or fresh produce, mangoes, lettuce, things like that other eBeam facilities might process. That could be their specialty. That's not something we choose to process. But we do process other food type products like spices and things like that. So I might have just stolen your thunder with the answer, but if you want to jump in and start talking about what the difference is between processing that, maybe why we don't do other food products, and then maybe talk about the challenges of processing the food products we do process, like spices and such.
So, yeah, we do a lot of material modification here. We do a lot of bioreduction. We do a lot of sterilization, and being able to do all of those also brings lots of requirements and challenges, right, to avoid cross-contamination and other things. So therefore, we've been keeping ourselves in the bioreduction business, but limiting it towards fresh produce, as you said, and beef and other types of food. But we do actually a lot of bioreduction products here, both in Cranberry, New Jersey, or Lebanon, Ohio. We do lots of spices, as you said. We do pet food, we do pet bedding, different types of products that do require some sort of a decontamination, or as the word says, bioreduction. And it's interesting to highlight that when you talk about sterilization or bioreduction, we're talking about required safety levels, required sterilization levels, right? Some cases, when we talk about bioreduction, we're actually talking about reducing microbial load, which can be sufficient to claim sterility, but not necessarily the customer is doing all the paperwork to claim sterility and going through all the steps that would require the product to be called sterile.
So essentially a sterilization level dose without all the paperwork to validate it as sterile.
Yes, because if we consider the pharmaceutical field, if we consider the cosmetic applications, if we consider tea bags, for example, which is another type of bioreduction scenario, flowers. So depending on the application you're going to use the product for, you have different requirements in terms of microbial load. Mm-hmm. If the material that's going to be in contact with blood, for sure it has a different requirement than something you're going to eat. Something you're going to take via oral delivery, for instance, you're going to use via oral delivery. We're talking about an ointment or a cream. It's going to be on top of your skin. Obviously, the requirement is different than if it's going to be injected intravenously or intramuscular. So different requirements lead to not necessarily different processes, but different documentation. So in those cases, when we think of bioreduction, we really think about decontamination, decrease the microbial level to the acceptable levels that the application requires. But that doesn't mean it's not sterilized. It's just, it may not have been carried out that way throughout the chain. When we talk about sterilization, for those of you that like this topic a little bit and want to know a little bit more, we have what we call the kill phase and the overkill phase. So the kill phase is basically what we need to deliver the dose to reduce the bioburden to zero. So your product arrived to our facility with a defined bioburden, and we deliver the dose to kill it and reduce it to zero. When we're talking about sterility levels, we have what we call the sterility assurance level, that is 10 to minus 6. In that case, we not only need the kill phase, but we also need to assure that the product has gone through the overkill phase. So there's got to be more of those there, and it's all got to be very well documented. A bioreduced product may also have a bioreduction level in the overkill phase, a bioburden level in the overkill phase, right? But not necessarily they have documented it. So it's similar, right? And it's handled at E-beam services the same way. And again, we do tea bags, we do in bulk configuration, in bags, in boxes. It's really about how we present it to the beam and how we qualify the product. And in that case, it's a pretty interesting technology because it allows us to process the material very fast if compared to other ionizing radiation modalities. So it gives a turnaround time for a product that is actually has a very large volume if compared to medical devices, for instance, right? So it's interesting. And also that ability to deliver electrons very fast and process the material very fast allows us to avoid some degradation reactions like loss of, taste, smell, properties that are kind of intrinsic to some of the materials if we're talking in the food application area.
Yeah, taste and smell is pretty important in food products.
Color, yes. Right?
Color, yes. You mentioned bulk packaging real quick. Can you go back and touch base on some of the packaging configurations that people can use for e-beam processing?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because when I was, I was doing different modalities of sterilization and studying about all of them. I always had in my mind that when you talk about e-beam, you're very limited in terms of packaging. And I think I said that in a question that was asked before. Yeah. So, but that really relies on how we present it to the beam and how we qualify the product. So basically what I'm saying is we've have process and been successful in qualifying bags, 20, 25 pound bags. We've been successful in have individual boxes of up to 20, 30 pounds, right, of flowers. And we've also done larger cases, but again, we just have to find the optimum configuration. Because it's sterilization, we need to process them in a special sort of, when I say special, I mean in a sealed bag, right? Because if
sterility barrier, yeah.
Or in the bioburden case, you can't have it exposed to air because it will be recontaminated, right? So when I mean bulk, it's important to differentiate. We do lots of truckloads of it, but it has to be in a package that meets the requirements for bioreduction, right? So we will not be able to process a pallet under the beam at once. It's got to be done in different inner bags or individually, which in this case, it's pretty convenient because it allows a better dose distribution. You don't heat the product because you don't deliver lots of dose. It can be very specific. It's almost like an unitary processing. So it allows us to operate in a tight range where we are able to preserve all the properties I mentioned before.
Yeah. So essentially the rule of thumb for e-beam, for processing with us at e-beam services, we try to generally keep packaging under 8 pounds per square foot.
Yes, that is an ideal scenario, but that doesn't mean we can't do it. In fact, we have Dania Senchik, our tax services manager in Ohio, that does a very nice job in working with customers. I am here to help customers out. You are there. Wherever you are right now, to help customers develop ideal packaging and help us overcome any barriers if we have to. Sometimes I remember cases where the existing packaging is not suitable, and we have helped the customer achieve a configuration and a packaging type that meet the logistical needs of the customer and also the specifics of electron beam technology.
Yeah, because that's important too. It's being able to work with us, with e-beam in general, make sure it's efficient for e-beam processing, but also stick with the customer's logistics because
exactly
shipping costs a lot, especially right now. So
that's something I've seen that we work very close with the customer to be able to deliver that and try to match the needs on both aspects. And the outcome has been so very successful, I may say.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's enough of an answer for that. So we'll jump on again later. We have a bunch more questions. We'll just go over at some other time. We'll stick with that bioreduction. But If anyone does have any questions, you can email us at ebeam@ebeamservices.com, or if you have my contact information, you can always get a hold of me. And then I will put a link below the video for just a questionnaire form. If you have a question, you can submit it, and that'll send it to the tech services team. And we'll either get back with you directly. Well, we will get back with you directly, but then we'd also probably jump on a video like this, because usually there are questions other people are having too. So, all right. Thanks, Gustavo.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.